Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Leap Expert Hour. And today we have a very, very special session. I think a lot of people have demanded for US as well. And so today we'll be talking all about US for September 2023. So if you're wanting to study in the US for September 2023, uh, start posting your questions, and we would have a very special guest joining us today. So before she actually joins in, let me quickly introduce her. So we have Monica Mehta from LeapScholar itself. She's the vice president for strategic initiatives, and she herself studied at Thunderbird School of Management at Arizona State University. And in the past, she has around 2 decades of experience, and in the past, she's been associated with companies like of course, with LeapScholar. She's also been a senior advisor with Thunderbird School. She's worked with Holland IQ. She's worked with a couple of other very big names in the industry, in the education industry, particularly. So yeah, so she'll be joining us very soon, and she'll be taking up your questions. And also, let's try and keep our questions focused on US for today. But again, I'll try and answer a lot of your questions on other countries as well, if you're looking to study in other countries like UK or Canada or Australia. So before she joins, let me just quickly run through your messages. Sahil, good evening, Sahil. I'm well. How are you? I didn't see you in the last session. Where were you? Uh, Elroy, good evening, Elroy. Gitartha, hi, Gitartha. How are you? Long time no see, you guys. Both of you are very, very regular in my sessions, and I think I'm seeing you after a very long time today. So cool. So guys, just start posting your questions already, and we'll have Monica joining us very soon. Cool. So what all you need to know about US, let me know in the comments box. And if you don't need, like, I think Alroy is asking about colleges in USA. So yes, Alroy will be covering a lot of that in today's session, and we'll be covering everything about US starting from scratch. And yeah, apart from that, you know, we'll be covering intakes, what kind of tuition fee you can expect, and everything in between. Also, if you want to book a free session with our expert for US or for any other country for that matter, there is a link which is floating in your chat box. And you can click on that link and sign up for a free counseling session with Leap, and someone will be able to help you. So we have Monica already joining us. Let me just bring her into the session. Give me a second. Hey, hi, Monica. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Saket?
Great, great, great to see you.
Same here, likewise.
Cool. So I was just telling the audience, and we have a lot of people joining us already, and I was telling them that we'll be discussing everything about US. So
Hmm.
I do take a lot of sessions, but mostly they're concentrated towards Australia or UK or Canada or other countries, but not US in general. So I think after a long time we're doing this session on US, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us.
My pleasure to be here too. Always excited to talk to students. I mean, I've studied in the US and I had the most amazing experience. So always happy to share my experience and also worked and study abroad for long. So always happy to share my experiences.
Right. So shall we start with the presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So, guys, we'll be starting with the presentation, and in the meanwhile, you can start posting your questions in the chat box. And let's try to keep the questions around US only. But like I said, I'll try and answer other countries as well in between. So, uh, I think I'll remove myself from the video here. Right. We can begin.
Okay, great. So, I thought let's just start with something more broad based, right? Everybody wants to know what the quality of education in the US is. More for most people, an education is only, the means to an end. The end in itself is job opportunity. So that is something that everybody really wants to know about. So let's start with there, right? The quality of education in the US is, by far the best in the world. Of course, there are specific countries that may be specifically better at certain, certain streams. So, for example, if you really wanted to go for hospitality management, I'd say, Australia might be a really good place to go. But for most degrees, and largely tech degrees, finance, management, all of these degrees which are very sought after today, the US is an extremely good place to go to from two perspectives. One is there's deep research in their universities, a very, very qualified faculty, and therefore it lends itself to being some of the best education systems of the world. The second thing is that, academia as well as industry work very closely to each other. And therefore, a lot of the faculty that you see, a lot of the people that you learn from, they oftentimes come from academia, not only, but also from industry. And therefore, you get to learn a lot about what's really going on out there in the world in the field that they are teaching in. And also, that links itself very well back to job opportunities, right? The other thing about the US is the fact, when it comes to job opportunities, that it's got a very deep philanthropy kind of culture, right? So, what that means is that students that graduate from there give back. And therefore, what happens is they not only give back in terms of donations back to their university, but they do want to see other students graduating from their university succeed. So if they are working in a large company like, say, Google or Meta, they will want to get and attract more students from that university into their company. So in many ways, job opportunities in the US are strife. And of course, right now, I mean, just whatever your other options might be, whether it's, Canada, UK, Australia, a lot of these economies are struggling, particularly the UK. So although it might be very exciting in terms of PR or work visa, finding jobs and having job opportunities right now, US looks one of the best markets. Then coming down to, curriculum and scholarships. So when it comes to the curriculum, let's just largely talk about postgraduate studies, because I'm sure most people on this session are students who want to go for their graduate studies. But I'll kind of allude to a little bit of both undergraduate as well as graduate. So the curriculum in the US is largely in the undergraduate space, liberal arts based, which means you do a little bit of general education and then you do some amount of your major. So if you wanted to do a business in a degree in, or bachelor's in computer sciences, you will do 4 years of an undergraduate degree, where about 1.5 to 2 years will be general education courses like world history, English literature, sociology. I mean, you get, of course, electives to choose from. And the rest of the 1.5 to 2 years will be your major, which is your computer science core courses, right? When it comes to the master's degrees, they're far more focused on the major that you want to do. So again, if I take the example of computer science, there may be a few core courses which are common across all students who are taking the computer science degree, but then you will have a lot of elective courses, so you can choose from those electives. Of course, they will be within the domain of computer science, but you can choose very deeply. Normally in the US, typically undergraduate degrees are 120 credits. So you do about 30 credits each year, and each course is equal to 3 credits. So if you're saying you're doing 30 credits per year, you're doing about 10 courses per year. Similarly, in your master's degree, the master's degrees today range from 30 credits to 60 credits. And again, if each course is 3 credits, so you're doing anywhere from 10 courses to about 20 courses. So that's how the curriculum is shaped up. In terms of scholarships, most US universities, especially the private colleges, they do offer scholarships. They offer scholarships to both domestic as well as international students. Scholarships are of two varieties. One is need-based scholarship, which means that you need scholarship because you do not have the finances or the wherewithal to cover the entire cost of your education and living in the US. The other is merit-based scholarships, and those are based on, like the name signifies, merit, which means how well you've done in your past, right? Which could be your education in your bachelor's degree, or your school if you're applying for a bachelor's degree, or it could be your work experience, or it could be other internships, whatever you might have done that strengthens your resume and proves to the college that they really should have you as part of their student population, so that so that they improve their diversity and they've got a really good student population. So they give scholarships for these two reasons. Of course, you get an opportunity to apply for them when you're applying to colleges. Scholarships vary vastly across colleges. Some of them give as little as $2,000 or $5,000, and I've known students who've got the entire scholarship, which could be as much as $90,000. So it's hard to kind of pinpoint to say, what anybody could get. It's based on your profile, based on your need, based on merit, based on the kind of college you're going to. It's based on your background and profile. It's based on a lot of different things. Coming to cultural diversity, this is one of the things that, because I've studied in the US, I do have two young kids who are currently studying in the US. One studies at Arizona State University, the other one at University of Maryland College Park. Cultural diversity on US campuses is the one thing that I think just stands the US apart compared to most other countries. Almost all US campuses will have, and I'm talking about the top 200 or 300 colleges, will have at least 15 to 20% of their student population being from outside of the US. And you will normally have anywhere from, 10 to maybe um, 50, 60 countries represented on campus, which is amazing, right? I mean, one thing is to go there and study computer science and avail of the job opportunities, but the on-campus experience is as much outside of the classroom as it is inside of the classroom. So while you learn from the best faculty and you learn some great topics, you will also make some great friends. You will also, learn about diversity. You will learn to deal with different cultures. And there will be so much learning outside of the classroom. And I think that's the one thing that really stands the US apart. I particularly went to a college that focused on global management, and we had 73 countries represented on campus. And the one thing I know is no matter which country I want to work in or do business in, like everybody is just on email away. I can email to them, and the alumni, cohort in all of these universities is so strong that it just lends itself to networking, and kind of if you wanted to do business or work in another country, it becomes so much easier. So I think that's something that really, if it excites you and interests you, then US is definitely the place to be in. Coming to the fall intake, right? So why is fall intake preferred? Now, it just lends itself better to the academic cycle in the US, as well as the job cycle, right? The employment cycle. So typically, if you went for a 4-year degree for your undergraduate study, or you went for your postgraduate study to the US, and if you started in fall, assuming your undergrad study is a 4-year degree, you will do 8 semesters. So fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, and you'll graduate in May. For those of you that don't know, fall normally starts in August and ends in December, and spring normally starts in January and ends in May. So when you graduate in May, that's the time companies are looking to recruit for their new, new recruits for their companies, right? And so therefore you are in the right time of the cycle to be recruited as a new recruit into companies that are looking to hire. If you start in spring and then you've done spring, fall, you will graduate in December. And it's not to say that you don't get jobs. I do know of a lot of friends, a lot of students that I've helped who did get jobs even after spring, when they started in spring but finished in fall. But it's not as prevalent as it is when you start in fall. And therefore, fall intake is preferred a lot more than, spring in general. I'm not able to see the entire slide very well because of the screen having my yeah, that'll be much better. So campus life in the universities, and let's speak a little bit about that. And I did allude to that a little bit, everyone, when I was talking about the cultural diversity and the quality of education. But I think campus life in universities in the US is again very unique. If you again went for your undergrad, there are sororities which are clubs where you have close cohorts of friends that kind of almost are friends for lifetime through the 4 years. There are lots of clubs on campus, and they're absolutely thriving. And like I mentioned, most campuses are extremely diverse. So you will have people from all walks of life doing all sorts of things. They might have something like an Asia night or a Latin America night, and you will be able to partake of other people's cultures. Again, philanthropy is a big thing. So if you have people from a particular college, let's just say someone's at the University of Texas at Austin, or someone's at UC Berkeley, or someone's at the University of Maryland College Park, their alumni come back to speak. So that's another big thing in the US. They always invite their alumni to come and speak to future students. They do invite a lot of companies on campus to actually have campus placements. So the entire life in the universities is during the 2 years if you're doing a master's, or 4 years if you're doing your undergrad, revolves around a lot of activities outside of the classroom, right? And doesn't matter what is interesting to you, right? If it's sport, there is something for you to do. If it's music, there's something for you to do. If it's dance, if it's community service, no matter what aspect of life interests you outside of the classroom, this is something that life in the US really affords you if you're at a US university.
Right.
um, and then lastly, just a little bit about the education system, right? Like I said, it's very steeped in liberal arts. They believe that you want to have a holistic understanding of life beyond just the major that you're majoring in. In India, of course, we have the Cambridge system of education, which means that once you decide to go down a certain path, you only focus on that particular major or that particular discipline. So education system in the US is extremely broad based. So you can do something like as interesting as, oh, I did a master's in computer science, but I've done a minor in psychology. That is
Yeah.
absolutely possible. And that's what
Right.
makes it exciting, because not everyone's only interested in one aspect of learning, right?
Yeah.
That's some amount of initial input, but also very happy to answer questions, Saket, if people are coming up with them.
Yes. So we have a particularly very interesting question from Alroy. So he was, wanting to know about colleges. So I
Mhm.
believe, Monica, colleges in the US, like the pretty famous colleges, like, I think I grew up hearing like about Wellesley College or all St. Olaf College or Bay. I don't remember all the other colleges. Pretty much, I think they do offer something called an undergraduate liberal arts degree colleges sort of thing.
Mhm.
So do you think they're worth like to pursue an undergrad?
Yeah, yeah. So we are just talking about undergrad right now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All right. So the colleges in the US are split into many kinds. To start off with, let me tell you that there are 4,400 of them. So that's a really
right.
large number.
Yeah,
These colleges can be divided into two or three large buckets. So, first, there are the public universities and there are the private universities. Public universities are obviously owned by the state. So, each state will have a couple of their own universities. So, for example, the state of Wisconsin has the University of Wisconsin Madison. The state of California has the University of California, Los Angeles. The state of Maryland will have the University of Maryland, College Park. So, just, giving you different names, but each
yeah.
of these will have their own public systems. These are funded by the state and they're normally much cheaper. If the degree or the discipline that you want to pursue is done well at a particular state university, I would recommend that because it's a much higher return on investment. So
Hmm.
I'll just give you a small example. If you looked at Boston University, which is a private school, and a lot of students would have heard of it, and you
Yeah,
would compare it with, let's say, the University of Wisconsin Madison, you will see University of Wisconsin Madison is ranked 38th. Boston University is ranked 41. But most people in India might not have heard of Wisconsin Madison.
yeah.
And most people in India would have heard of Boston University.
Boston.
Having said that, Wisconsin Madison is at about $55,000 to $58,000 a year, whereas Boston University is at about $85,000 a year.
Yeah,
So, if all else being equal and the rankings being equal, unless Boston University has a particular program that they're very well known for that you truly want to do, if it's something generic like an econ degree, economics or psychology or management, I would recommend that people go to public universities only so that the return on investment is better. Because
hmm,
$85,000 a year, with now the dollar touching 83 yesterday, it's a lot of
yeah.
money. We've moved from
Right,
74 to a dollar to 83 rupees to a dollar
right.
now. So I would say return on investment is something one should think about. Having said that, within private colleges, there is also the small liberal arts colleges and the large universities. So, for example, in the state of Pennsylvania, for example, there are a lot of good small liberal arts colleges, Swarthmore College, Franklin
Yeah,
and Marshall. There's a lot of small liberal arts colleges. And if you're somebody, look, the colleges have to be a right fit, Saket, at the end of the day, right?
yeah.
And to Alroy, who's asking this question. Um, if you are a big city person and if you want to be in the middle of New York or Boston, absolutely fine. Some people are small town people, right? They prefer a
Yeah,
small community, small colleges where they can have a community of people that they can feel close to and feel connected with. Then you're
right.
much better off going to a small private liberal arts college because you can get that feel, you can get that, that small town, small community feel. So
Right.
not everybody is the same kind. And therefore, whilst there are all kinds of colleges, I would always recommend that students go to a college that's the right fit. Because you
Mhm.
might say that, oh, really want to go to Carnegie Mellon or Harvard or Stanford, which are all the top Ivy League colleges and some of the top schools.
Right.
They have an extremely competitive atmosphere.
Yeah.
Now, if you can thrive in a competitive atmosphere, then absolutely. But if you're someone who's more collaborative and, like I said, someone who likes to live within a community of people, then that's absolutely not the right place for you. So
Makes
there are
sense.
all sorts of colleges in the US. So I talked A about the ROI and thinking about that. B, thinking about which is the college that's the right fit for you.
Right. Makes sense. I hope that answers the question, Alroy. So let's move on to the next slide. I think you've covered this already, Monica, why study in the US.
Yes.
And yeah, so we can, I think you've covered most of the presentation already.
Yes, but no,
Uh,
I'm happy to kind of deep dive a little bit more.
cool. So
And
which slide do
yes,
you
why
want me to
don't
take?
we talk a little bit about the fall intake preferred over the spring intake? Because I didn't really go into depth, and I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this. I'm sure a lot of students might be interested in knowing more about it. So the other part is that fall, when you start in fall, you have more courses on offer. So spring is normally the smaller semester because most
Mm.
students start in fall because of the way the academic cycle is. So when you start in fall, they might have 200 courses on offer. And then in spring, that will reduce to about 50 courses or 70
Right.
courses. So if you want to avail of a large, because I told you, you have a lot of electives that you can choose from, no matter which program you're doing, then if you do want to do that, then you're better off starting in fall because you'll have a lot more choices of courses or electives to choose from, right? Also, there are a higher number of applicants in fall, and there's also a higher intake in fall.
Yeah.
So they have a larger number of students that they can take in fall, right? Just in terms of like seats, if I may call it that. And so if you have a high number of applicants and a larger number of seats, then there is a higher chance of you getting in fall than you have in getting in spring. And then
Right.
campus internship opportunities, it was similar to the job piece that I was talking about. That normally the way it works is that people start in fall, that's the first semester, second semester is spring, which is Jan to May, and then they do a summer internship. But
Mhm.
you need to finish 1 year in the US to be able to do an internship. That's the law. So you can't
Right.
do one semester and then do an internship. So if you started in spring and you finished in May, the first semester, it's harder to do an internship. Some
Right.
universities do have CPTs, which is curricular practical training, and do try and get you an internship in summer. But in most cases, your internship is much better if you've done 2 semesters and then are looking for an internship.
Got it.
And then, of course, if you're looking for internships or jobs, if you have done 2 semesters, it boosts your overall profile, right? Because now you've studied for 1 year, and you've done a lot of work before you're applying, saying that okay, I do have all of these skills. And
Right.
that by default enhances your CV because now when you're looking for internships or even for jobs, you've done a lot more coursework because if you start in spring and you're applying for the May internship or the employment, you've done very little by the time you're looking for that internship.
Mhm. Right. Makes sense. Cool. So we have a very particular question, Monica, which is about the never-ending debate on US versus Canada. So Sahil is actually one of our regular viewers, and I think he's asked me this question before, and I think you'll be a better person to answer it. That whether he should choose US or Canada, like either a mid-ranked US university or a top Canadian university. Which one would you recommend?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I'm going to answer this question only specifically for MIS because I'm seeing the question is for MS in MIS, which is Management Information Systems. Um, to me, the answer is extremely clear. If it's anything to do with tech, US is the place. I
Right.
mean, you can't get better than Silicon Valley and the US for any kind of tech jobs. So if it is tech, I would say it doesn't matter like which top Canadian university you study in. But if you're looking for jobs, the absorption of people into the job market in the US is unparalleled when it comes to tech.
Right.
I would definitely go with, not low ranked university because if you can get into a Canadian top 10 university, then I'm assuming you can also get into a US top 50 or 100 universities. I don't know why
Yeah.
you would go to a mid or low ranked university, Sahil. Like if you If you're comparing a top 10 university in Canada, then we should compare apples to apples, right? You'll get
Yeah,
a much better return on investment, and you will get a much better um, pool of opportunities for jobs. I'm not saying there are no jobs available in Canada. I'm saying the pool of job opportunities in the US for tech jobs, and I'm only talking about tech jobs, will be much larger. So I would
right.
definitely go with the US if it's tech. Now, if it was an other stream, I might have said differently, but if it's this, then I think absolutely the US.
Well, that brings me to another question about Vanchika actually. So I think, Monica, the major, I would say, pain point for most students from India nowadays is the the permanent residency option,
Mhm.
right? So and I think that is why a lot of tech students are also kind of diverting towards Canada because the whole that easy PR thing. So
Mhm.
Vanchika has a very similar question that what is the scope of getting PR in US specifically after finance? Or
Right.
maybe you can kind of generalize it for everyone who's actually choosing to
Yeah.
study in the US.
Absolutely. So, good question again, Vanshika. So, here is my take on this. If this is a STEM certified course, you're going to get a 3 year OPT, right? So, I'm sure all of you are aware, but for those that are not, all US courses are divided into one of two buckets. Either it's a STEM designated course or it's a non-STEM designated course. And STEM, I'm sure again most of you know, is science, technology, engineering, math. So if your course is within STEM, then you get a 3 year post study work visa after your degree, whether it's undergrad or grad, doesn't matter. If it's
Yep.
a non STEM degree, like for example, it could be a psychology degree or something, which may be a non STEM degree. Even a finance degree could be STEM or non STEM. Most tech degrees are STEM, but finance could be STEM or non STEM. Now, if it's a non STEM degree, then you only get 1 year. Now, if you're going to go to the US for a non STEM degree, then Canada might be a much better option because of just your return on investment.
Yeah.
But if you go for a STEM degree and you spend 3 years in the US, there are very high chances of you getting an H-1B visa and being able to stay back. Because if you're working for a firm that's one of the top 10 tech firms or consulting firms or finance firms, they will have the wherewithal in terms of their legal firms to be able to go out there and actually get you your H-1B visa. And the
Right.
pool for master students is almost 70-75% of the H-1B visas that are allotted, and 25% are for undergraduate students. So if you're doing a master's, you're in that larger pool. So I would say this: if you're going to do a non-STEM degree in the US, then I would much rather say please go to Canada.
Right.
If you're going to do a master's degree in the US, which is a STEM certified degree, if you can get 3 years to spend in the US, you cannot compare that work experience with anywhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
you will get a return on investment, you will recover your cost, you will get great experience, even if you don't choose to stay back or can't stay back, and then you can move to elsewhere. But I would then much rather say the US if you're getting a 3 year, post study work visa.
Right. And I have a very related question to this. I think it will be very beneficial for Sahil as well. So Gautam is asking, any universities that will accept someone with a 3 year bachelor's for MS in information systems. So I believe we have the collaboration with the ASU, Arizona State University, the Leap Advantage.
Yes.
Uh,
So no, we have at Colorado State
so
University.
yeah, so Colorado State University.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, forgot.
So no, we do take some students with 3 year bachelor's degree, Gotham, but we have limited slots. So it all depends on more than just the 3 years bachelor's. How many years of experience the person has, what kind of GPA one had in their 3 year bachelor's degree. So you're very welcome to reach out to us separately. I can't say yes or no. We do have 3 or 4 slots every fall and spring, but that depends on the student's profile and background,
Right.
aside from the 3 years bachelor's.
Right. So Gautam, I've just done a video on the same. I keep on forgetting the names of the universities because I believe we had a collaboration with ASU as well in the past. So yeah, it's with CSU and it's called Leap Advantage MCIS Pathway Program. So I just did a video, it was posted day before yesterday. Go check it out, and there is a link where you can go and book a free counseling session as well. And yes, like how Monica said, we do accept 3 year bachelors, but it will be on case to case basis. So do reach out. Cool. So let's move on to the next slide, which is do you want to cover this, the university's experience? And I
Absolutely,
think that's pretty
absolutely.
much relevant.
Yes, absolutely. So, I did again mention this a little bit in, my initial starting and opening, spiel on the US. But I think the campus life in the US is really by far like, I mean, and I've visited campuses across the world. I just think that you cannot compare, the kind of campus life you have in the US. And I'm not going to compare just the top 10, right? Because not all of us get to the top 10. So in the US, obviously there are the top 10, and those top 10 in the US are great. The top 10 in Canada are great, and top 10 in the UK and Australia are also great, right? But not all of us are all going to get to the top 10. But even from university number 11 to 250 in the US, they've got just amazing campus facilities, and amazing campus life. And when I say campus life, there is so much that they have for you to do beyond your studies, right? And I think that what really creates the overall experience for a student is whatever happens outside of the classroom. Because trust me, what you may study in a coding class in India cannot be hugely different from a coding class you might study in the
Yeah.
US. What really excites a student is other people you're studying with, the quality of people that come there, the diversity of the student population that comes there, both from a gender perspective and from a geographical distribution perspective, and then what you do outside of the classroom beyond the time that you are in the classroom, right? So like I said, clubs, activities, all sorts of speakers coming, all sorts of, they have a lot of exchange programs. So for example, my brother studied at the Case Western Reserve University, which is in Cleveland, and then he had an exchange program where he went to the Norway School of Management for one semester, right? Again, those are things which are very, very unique to the US. So that entire cultural experience is so unique that that is something you won't get anywhere else. And then the American way of life, right? Again, everyone has views. My view is I just love it. I love the fact that, you can be yourself. There are no judgments. You can do what you want. Nobody's really bothered about you. Nobody bothers you. And
Yeah.
you're not responsible or answerable to anyone else. Really, the American way of life is like live for yourself, like live your dream and do what you want. And the one thing about America, I think, is if you're willing to work hard, you will succeed. Like it's just set up for people who can go up through their merit, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, in countries like India or in many other Asian and developing economies, very often it's about who you know, and like whether you know the right people to kind of push the right buttons. But in the US, the great thing is the American way of life is you're willing to work hard, you're intelligent, you're really, wanting to do all it takes to succeed, you will
Yeah.
succeed. And I think that's fantastic.
Right.
And then again, I talked about this before, but I think one of the great things about the American education system is about taking a variety of courses. Like it is so, like I did BCom in India, and I did only commerce related courses, right? But let's just say I was interested in commerce, but I did want to learn a little bit more about biology. Now that's not an option.
Yeah.
In the US, you can do biology with psychology. I mean, you can do business with, I don't know, anthropology. I mean, you can do whatever you want. And that's what makes it exciting, because for most of us, we are not unidimensional that, oh, I'm only interested in computer science, or I'm only interested in filmmaking, or I'm only interested in, I don't know, microbiology, or whatever the case
Right.
might be. But it helps you to do that. And again, the course content and structure of your course, like I said, if you have a 33 credit course, which are 11 courses, normally 3 or 4 of them will be core courses, and then they'll say the other 7 or 8 you can take your electives. You can choose how you want to build that course out for yourself. Some people might want
Hmm.
to do, if you're doing a master's in information systems, because we were talking about it recently, you can do a specialization in data analytics or business analytics or project management or cyber security. They will allow you to create your track, and that again is
Right.
something that's really exciting.
Right. Cool. On that note, I have a question, which is about data sciences. We've seen data sciences has kind of blown up like anything in the recent year, and of course, it actually is one of the tech courses. So, Bylon wants to know some well-known affordable universities which you can recommend for data sciences in general.
Okay. So when you say data sciences, I'm assuming it includes data analytics, business analytics, and all of the the entire bucket. Definitely a lot of universities that are public universities in California. So the entire UC system, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, UCLA, all of them, because they are based in California and in the Valley, they have got some really good data science
Yeah.
programs. But the Southwest is very well known for affordability. So ASU, and you mentioned that a little earlier, Saket. So Arizona State University's Fulton School of Business, as well as WP Carey School of Business, sorry, Fulton School of Engineering, I beg your pardon, and Carey School of WP Carey School of Business. Both have some really good programs. They've really gone up the ranks in recent times. Texas and Colorado also have some really great schools. So Colorado State University, UT Austin, Texas
Mm-hmm.
A&M. So a lot of the ones in the Southwest, they are far more affordable. Not only are the colleges affordable, but even the states are affordable. California is
Right.
extremely expensive to live in. Massachusetts is extremely expensive to live in. So some of those states are extremely expensive, but Southwest states, I think, really make it affordable because even the cost of living there is much lower
Right.
than elsewhere in the US.
Right. Now we have a very interesting question, which is about switching fields, and I think I've been answering this question a lot in terms of UK and Canada as countries. So Saad had this question wherein in the UK it's definitely possible. Like you can do computer sciences because they do have some options. But is it possible if you can switch streams after your bachelor? So he has a BSc Life Sciences. Can he do
Absolutely.
MS in computer
Absolutely.
sciences?
And that's the beauty of the US again. You can move from anything to anything, my daughter started with biochemistry and moved to economics and political science. So like
Hmm.
it's so diverse. So absolutely, if you've done a BSc in life science, you can move to an MS in computer science. I guess my only hitch would be, is your BSc a 3-year degree? Because if that is, then it will restrict you in terms of the number of universities you can apply to, because there are
Yeah.
only certain universities that accept a 3-year degree. But in terms of your stream, absolutely, you can change from any stream to any stream. At best, they may ask you to do a couple of extra courses as a prerequisite to the degree that you're going in for if you don't have a background in that degree. But you can definitely move.
Right. I hope that answers the question, Saad. Gitartha has a question on, he's mentioned his profile. So he has an 8.1 CGPA, 7.5 in IELTS, a GRE of 301, 12 years of work experience, 4 internships, some universities in the US, industrial engineering.
Okay. So, Saket, it's hard for me to give lists of universities.
So you can just specify the areas, like
Yeah.
because I think he's more looking towards a suitable location for job opportunities. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So again, for industrial engineering, I would say the Southwest, Texas, Austin especially is really really an upcoming city. So is Colorado, Denver, a very very upcoming area. Phoenix, that whole metropolitan Phoenix area is very very upcoming. The state of Florida, again, very very potent for people that want to do that kind of work. And then some of the Midwest states, right, like Ohio, Michigan, and industrial engineering. And so a lot of your automobile manufacturers are in that Midwest area. So
yeah,
the Southwest and the Midwest, I would say, are really potent states for you to apply to. And of course, they've got some great universities. So again, same names: Texas, Austin, Colorado State University, Arizona State University. In the Midwest, and Ohio has Ohio State University. You have University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, which is of course a far higher ranked university. And you
yeah,
do have a good profile, but again, it depends on the cost versus what
right.
finances you have. That's another important thing. So I think all of these states would be great states for you to apply to, and much lower cost of living than the
Right.
east and west coast.
Right. I hope that answers the question, Gitartha. Next up, we have a question from Anjali, and again, a very hot course right now, business analytics. So, what is the scope in general? So, yeah, like I think I've been telling this to everyone that it's one of the hottest courses in the market right now. So,
Yeah.
what about US?
It is. It is. So, interestingly, Anjali, thank you for asking the question. My daughter's currently just started her master's in business analytics at the University of Maryland. She's at the Simon School of Business. I was just there about 3-4 weeks ago. It's the degree right now that everyone is wanting to kind of apply for, and where people are recruiting from in terms of employers. And this is not restricted to any specific domain, right? I mean, business analytics is across all businesses. So whether you're in a pharmaceutical company, or whether you're an industrial company, or whether you're a tech company, you need business and data analytics, right? So business analytics are, I mean, to get a job as an analyst or a consultant after you do a business analytics degree in the US, it's the number one degree that is being recruited for right now. The
Yeah.
permit, I have not known of any business analytics course thus far that is not STEM certified. All business analytics courses fall under STEM certified in the US. So you will definitely get a 3-year post-study work permit. And that post that, like I said, it would be an H-1B.
Right. Next up, Monica, we have a question from Mosam, and I think he's pursuing his software engineering from Australia currently, and he's interested to do an MS from US. So, yeah, so I think what's the possibility? Like, how would you, kind of
So,
rate this move?
BEng software engineering from Australia, does that mean a bachelor's in engineering?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess. Oh,
bachelor's of engineering, yes.
engineering. Okay, got it. Sorry. So, yes, absolutely. I mean, as long as it's a 4-year degree, though, because I know that Australia's bachelor's degrees are 3-year degrees. So if it's a 3-year degree, then it might be really hard for you to get into a lot of the top colleges, because most of the top colleges expect you to have a 4-year degree. Now,
Yeah.
the only way to bell that cat is if you have a lot of work experience. So I have known students, who've done a 3-year undergrad degree, but then have worked for one of the top companies, even if it's in India, like maybe Microsoft or Amazon or even TCS or Infosys, and they've worked at a mid-manager level position, and then they apply, then they say, you know what, okay, you've had a 3-year degree, but you had so much work experience that you bring to the table that we will kind of ignore the fact that you don't have a 4-year degree. But if you want to go directly after your degree, then there are very few universities, and Stanford is not one of them, that will accept a 3-year degree.
Right, right. But does it apply to degrees from Australia as well? Because I believe a lot of top schools, they do accept 3-year degrees from English-speaking countries, don't they? So that's something I thought about, because a lot of Canadian universities do. So like, let's say if
Yeah,
UBC
but
or
there are still very few universities in the US. I mean, they are now become test optional, right? In the US, in addition to the 4-year degree, they always ask you for your GRE if it's an
yeah,
MS, or a GMAT if it's an MBA. So now they've become test optional. So even the top colleges, they've become very easygoing when it comes to tests, saying that, okay, if you don't have a GRE or a GMAT, we're still willing to look at your profile if you come from a good university, from an English speaking country or non English speaking, right? But if you don't have a 4-year degree, there are still limited options of
hmm,
universities that will pick you.
right. I believe Canada is like a little bit more flexible on
Yes,
that front.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Canada is absolutely.
Cool. So, Monica, next question we have from Abhinandan, and I think he's got a pretty good profile.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting exact list of universities from you, but again, he's from the IT background, and of course, he has a BCA, which is a 3-year degree. So, with what kind of areas he should be targeting for IT sort of jobs?
And so I'm assuming when he says areas, he's probably asking what kind of courses he should take up in the US.
Yeah. So he's asking about the universities in particular.
Okay.
So, and he's on a budget. So, yeah, like anything you want to.
Yeah. So again, if you want to go with budget universities, then again, your East Coast and West Coast are not the places to go. Remember that it's not just your college cost, right? There's a lot of cost of living expense as well. Like 1/3 of your total cost when you go to the US is the cost of living, which is your stay, your food, etc. So your East and West Coast, just generically speaking, will always be very expensive. So if you want to make this, affordable, you want to keep this low. I mean, either you of course get a scholarship if you really have a strong profile, but if that is not possible and you're going to self-fund it or get a loan and you want to keep it to a minimum, I would definitely recommend, like, there are also lots of great colleges, like for example, University of Virginia. Like, a lot of people don't speak about it, but it's an absolutely great school. The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Again, it's in the middle of the US. It's in Illinois, which is where Chicago is located.
Yeah.
But again, it's a really good school. So I would say go with those kind of colleges. They are more affordable. They have lower fees than some of these East Coast and West Coast schools. And of course, even the cost of living in a place like Virginia is far more affordable.
Right. Right. So, next question is about construction management from Prateek. So, what is the scope of this field in particular in US?
So I would say it's good. I mean, I think that even the US is undergoing right now metamorphosis in terms of its real estate and its construction industry. So absolutely, there is scope for it. But my worry is more around whether it can be considered a STEM degree. So
Right.
more than the scope, it's more about whether or not you'll be able to stay back in the US. So you'll have to look for a construction management degree that might fall under STEM, because if not, then you'll only get 1 year to stay back. and then
Right.
there's no ROI on that.
Right.
So even if there are jobs, I mean, if you can't stay back, then that doesn't matter, right?
Right.
So yeah, so construction management normally does not fall under STEM for all
Right. And
practical purposes.
right. Got it. So, and that brings me to Sahil again. I think that this is why he is actually thinking of Canada, because he's like, no, I cannot uh, go. I'm choosing Canada because there are the chances of getting PR and staying back.
Hmm, hmm.
So yeah, so I think that's the worry with most people, that yes, they do get a 3 years OPT, but it's like people have this whole misconception about they might not be able to settle down, and they might not be able to earn the ROI on the degrees. So I think that's why most people, I know a couple of people from my circles as well, Monica, who actually chose to go to a Canadian university rather than US, primarily because they thought that they would not get a lot of return on the investments from the US, and I think that's primarily because of the whole PR
Yeah,
thing around it. So Canada, yes, it is easier. But again, guys, but the kind of tech courses and the kind of the curriculum and the kind of faculty you get in American universities. Why I always tell people that if I talk about all the countries in the world, the English-speaking ones, so I always place like US and UK at the top of the heap, because they have the best colleges and the best universities. So yeah, moving on to the next question, Monica, which is on options for a 3-year degree holder. So yeah, so this is a very common question for Canada as well. But how about US? So someone with 3-year degree like a BCom, like I think you've been in the same boat yourself. You've done a BCom, which is a 3-year degree. So what would you
but
suggest?
I did do an MCOM after that.
Okay, okay, I didn't know that.
To be able to go. And this was like, I guess, 22, 23 years ago. So I
Right.
did do a BCom and then I had to do an MCOM. They were willing to accept a 1 year MCOM, but I'd finished the MCOM and then applied. So, but PG diploma. So in the US, diplomas will not allow you to stay back. So
Mhm.
after a 3 year degree, sorry, I misunderstood the question. Sorry again, Vanshika. So yes, absolutely, you can do a PG diploma after a 3 year degree, and that will totally qualify for the fourth year. The answer is yes, absolutely.
Right. Um, cool. So yeah, so I think you can cover some more slides. We still have some more slides to go.
Sure, not at all. So, just in terms of rankings, because a lot of people have asked about top 10 versus, which are the top universities. So, out of the top 10 universities in the world in the US, of course, there are so many different rankings. But still, if you go through most rankings, you will see that whether it's Stanford or MIT or Harvard, the University of Chicago, which is Booth School of Business, Caltech, which is the California Institute of Technology, all of these are amongst the top 10 schools. So it has a bulk of the top 10, right? The US, and therefore, to Saket's earlier point, like obviously the US and UK have had some of the best universities. They've been the front runners in education. So if really a good quality education means a lot, it's great. I would always say this, and maybe I'm diverging right now from this, so just give me a couple minutes. But I think what's important is what's your goal. There is
Mhm.
always a hack around everything, and I'm going to go back to my daughter just because it gives you all some belief that that is possible. My son is at ASU. I can't afford to pay for both children. My daughter went to University of Maryland College Park. She's got a full assistantship, which means the entire tuition is paid for, and they are paying for her living costs.
Oh,
And to whatever little extent there was a cost involved that she needed to pay for, she's got a full loan from Prodigy Finance, right? That's
right,
because Leap Finance did not have Maryland as one of the states where we currently give loans. Otherwise, we would have
right,
obviously gone with Leap Finance. But my point is that if you want to do it, there is a hack around everything, and you can get to the US. Now,
right.
it's obviously the front runner in education. But if your goal is solely to just migrate out of India, and it doesn't matter what kind of degree course you're doing, and the eventual goal is just I want a PR and I want to get the heck out of here and I want to just stay in another country, then maybe
Yeah,
Canada is a better option. I'm
right,
not here to kind of say that no matter what your goal is, US is a better option. But if your
right.
intention looking at the slide is I want to study at one of the top institutions or in a country where some of the top institutions are, not all of us get to the 5 top colleges, right? But
Yeah,
even the top 100 colleges, they're just amazing colleges out there. I've visited probably 70 out of those 100. And you cannot compare that with anything in Canada or most of the other countries. So if
Right.
that's the intent, and then to get a PR and stay back and work and all of that, then that's great. But if it's solely PR, then maybe Canada is your best choice right now, even better than the
Makes sense.
UK, because I mean UK is just a mess right now in terms of
Yeah.
economy and finding a job. So even if you get a work permit but you don't get a job, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And Monica, just out of curiosity, I had this question, and I want to know your take on rankings. So do you think rankings matter? Because I get this question a lot.
Yeah. So I think they don't matter after the top 10. Like after the top 10 or 15 colleges, and again, I'm more specifically talking about the US because I understand that market a lot more. Colleges from 15 to 50 or 60 are all the same. Like if you
Right.
went to college number 17 and you went to college number 31, there is hardly any difference.
Right.
So the Ivy Leagues, as they call them in the US, are the top 8 or 10 universities, right? I mean, there are
Mm-hmm.
eight, Ivy Leagues are eight, but let's say the Ivy Leagues plus another 4 or 5. So those are the top 10 or 15.
Yeah.
After that, it really doesn't matter. I mean, for the top 50 to 100 universities, they are all really good quality universities.
Right.
I would say if you want to go with ranking for your particular program. Like,
Makes
for
sense.
example, Harvard has a great business school and a great medical school, but nobody goes to Harvard for engineering. They go to MIT, which is
Yeah.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So each of them are well known for something good that they do. So depending on what your interest is, you would go to a university that is very well ranked for your program, and not just to say that, oh, I went to UPenn, right? A lot of people go to UPenn, but it's Wharton Business School that is very well known.
Yeah.
But if you go to UPenn and do some, I don't know, anthropology degree, I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? Then it's just for telling people that, oh, I went to UPenn and I did anthropology. But there are many better schools that have great programs in anthropology.
Right. Makes sense. Cool. So we'll take last question, and that's from Shashank, and he's asking about electrical engineering as a career, and of course, he's asking about the universities. But again, you can just talk generally about the areas he should target.
So again, electrical engineering falls under STEM. Career options for electrical engineering are great. Again, I would again go with Southwest and Midwest, universities. I just think they're ideal simply because of the kind of ROI you get. I keep saying ROI because literally, except for the very elite students in India, I mean, we all have to think about how much we are spending versus how much we're going to gain back in return, right? So if you can spend about 70 to $80,000 in your for your master's degree, and you can kind of recover that within 1.5 years, then you've done well. But if you're going to like spend some 120, $130,000, and then you're going to struggle to pay that back in terms of loans, then that's a problem. So
Right.
both in terms of living costs and in terms of the kind of tuition, a lot of the public schools, I would say, stick with public schools, stick with Midwest to Southwest. Southwest states are Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, all of these states, right? Utah, all of these states. And your Midwest are Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. These are all your, Midwest states. So those are the states I would go with, and with their public schools. So Wisconsin, for
Right.
example, has University of Wisconsin-Madison. Michigan has University of Michigan at Ann Arbor. So these are all the public schools in their respective states. And I think
Right.
those would be the best for you to go with.
Right. So before we wrap up today's session, quickly letting you guys know that we have created a course on business analytics in the UK. So UK, like it's currently going through a lot of turmoil, but again, business analytics has grown immensely over the past few years, and it's growing again. There is a very, very big shortage the UK is currently facing because of Brexit. And if you're wanting to study business analytics in the UK, we have created a course with a UK job expert and international student from University of Warwick. And it's a 60-minute course wherein we discuss all about the UK job market, the current and future trends. What kind of subjects will you study? What kind of prerequisites are there? What kind of fee you'll expect to spend? We have some free resources as well, which include a sample cover letter and a CV, and everything included at a very, very nominal price. So we have a link which is floating in your chat box. Click on that link and go sign up. It's very, very affordable, and trust me, it will be very beneficial for you if you're wanting to study business analytics in the UK. So before we wrap up, Monica, any tips and tricks you'd like to give to someone who's looking to study in September 2023? Shall they start applying now? Are the universities open?
Absolutely. I think that your best chances of both getting a scholarship as well as an admission is when you start early. The more you get into Feb, March, April, it's not like you can't get into universities, but the pool of seats becomes smaller as well as the opportunities for scholarship become lower, right? So I think starting early is a great idea. Again, like I said, please think about public versus private universities. Please think about small versus large universities, depending on which college is the right fit for you. And I think that you need to think about ROI, right? Going to a great US university is awesome if you can afford it. And if obviously if you have the wherewithal in terms of the merits. But there are lots of great universities in the US that are ranked between, if you believe in rankings, between 20 and 100. And some of them are very, very affordable universities. And you
Right.
will also get a scholarship and you can also get a loan, right? At Leap Finance, we give loans, but there are many other companies that give loans too. So
Right.
all in all, I think that will ensure um, that you have an affordable degree with all of the benefits that come with it.
Right. Cool. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you so much, Monica, for taking
Thank
out
you,
your
Saket.
valuable
Really a
time and
pleasure being
speaking to
here.
students.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you, and I'll hope to see you for a session like this again soon. So we'll bring
Sure.
you back.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.